Welcome to video number 13, which is about essay number 2. This video will introduce the essay, give you a brief introduction to it, along with discuss due dates. Essay number 2 is a rhetorical analysis of a news article. So essentially, you're going to be finding a news article and writing rhetorical analysis of it. And talk a little bit more about what I mean by that later. This essay is worth 150 points, which is 15% of your overall course grade, and it will be 3 to 4 double-spaced pages. That is a little bit longer than the last paper. Essay 1 was 2 to 3 pages and with 100 points. So every essay it will be a little bit longer and also worth a little bit more. Timeline for this is a little bit different than essay number 1, just because I can't make it due the weekend of April 2nd through the 4th, because that's Easter weekend. Don't want to interrupt anybody's holiday, and of course we don't have school on that Friday. So I am making the essay due that Thursday night on April 1st. So the peer review week is a tiny bit different. Instead of having the peer review draft due on Monday night, it is going to be due on Sunday night. So you should email me your essay drafts, your rough drafts, which will be around 3 to 4 pages on Sunday, March 28th. If you don't have the full 3 to 4 pages, still email me. Any writing is better than no writing. Always strive to try to find that 3 to 4 pages of rough draft so I can help you the most and your peers can help you the most that we can. But if you have like 2.5 pages, still email it to me, okay? By Monday, March 29th, that morning, I will email everybody once I have all the peer review drafts set up. And just like essay number 1, peer review, you will comment on everybody's essays in your group and also fill out the question guide before the night of Tuesday, March 30th. Then you'll have between Wednesday and Thursday to go look at those comments and do any revisions before that peer review for the final draft is due Thursday, April 1st. 11:59 p.m. also due via Blackboard. The peer review is worth 10 points, and the final draft is worth 140 points. You can see that those same dates on the schedule, which would be the week of end of week 9 into week 10. And so you can see all these dates, same as I listed on the assignment sheet, and all the dates are also on the assignment sheet and here on the schedule, which of course is at the end of the syllabus. Hold on. Sorry, I had a brief technical error there. You should also watch those rhetorical analysis videos. So the week you're watching this video, you should also be watching all the rhetorical analysis videos, which explain more in depthly about what rhetoric is. So this isn't the only video you should watch. This is just an introduction of the assignment, and a lot of the other videos are going to help understand a lot more about what I mean. But on a basic level, the word rhetoric means the art of persuasion. So if you're analyzing how something is influenced rhetorically or creating a rhetorical analysis, you're analyzing how a work or text persuades its audience. So to do something, to think something, to feel something. A lot of times this is done with advertisements. Persuade the viewer to buy something, to purchase a product, to give to a charity, or vote for a politician, or so forth. We are going to analyze specifically a text, a news article. You can choose your own news article. It has to be from a news source, so you shouldn't find an article from like a scholarly article. You can use them as to support your thesis, but the main news article you'll want to use should be from like somewhere like New York Times, Washington Post, St. Louis Post-Dispatch, or another news outlet. You should find a credible news source, okay? The article does not have to be current, but it must have been published within the last 10 years. So from the final date of essay number 2 is due. So essay number 2 is due Thursday, April 1st, 2021. So you should find a news article somewhere between April 1st, 2011 and April 1st, 2021. You're going to probably, that is your timeline there. Last semester I had a few students actually, who wanted to pick news articles from like 9/11 and 2001, and I'm choosing to have a 10-year kind of gap there. because 10 years is around the time period you want to think of when you think of relevancy. So if you're looking for a source to support a thesis or support a claim, you usually want that 10-year mark. Now, that doesn't necessarily, it's a hard and fast rule. Some older sources can be relevant depending on that, and I'll have a separate video about credibility of sources that discusses that more in depthly. But 10-year, make sure you find a news article within 10 years, and it could be online. You can find one in a newspaper, like a physical newspaper. If you do find one in a physical newspaper, you will want to scan it and upload it with your article, with your essay. Once you find your news article, you want to make a lot of observations. I have a separate video about the topic proposal, and the topic proposal is meant to help you with this. But I'll also have a source on here on Blackboard. It's called Essay Number 2 Extra Help. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that more in the next video for the topic proposal. But that Essay Number 2 Extra Help, it's optional. It's not necessarily for a grade, but it is an assignment I have for some of my other classes that's meant to help with the thesis. So if you're having problems with the thesis, forming one, go look at that. But you'll make observations with the article, and that extra help, that Essay Number 2 Extra Help, is really a list of questions that can help you make those observations. So if you're confused, what do? Look at that list. And similar to Essay Number 1, when I ask, make a list of observations about your own life, where are you from, what schools do you go to, what were your favorite pets, that's similar to what I mean in terms of the news article. So make a list of observations, and they will specifically be rhetoric based. So who is the audience, what is the purpose, and so on and so forth. So those are going to be really important. And you don't have to necessarily send it to me. You can just answer those questions, but if you need extra help, go ahead and send it to me, okay? Make observations about the article, what is interesting to you. I see invention number 3, that's when I say invention number 3, I need to change that. I mean the extra help assignment sheet, okay? Ask questions and make connections or to write a working thesis. Every essay is going to require a thesis. The thesis will be your main claim that you will use to support, that you're going to be supporting for the rest of the paper. Now, the extra help assignment sheet, at the end of it, it talks about a question. And that's a thesis question. And on everybody should have a thesis question that on a very basic level asks, how is this article persuading an audience to think, feel, or react, or something else? Now, everybody's thesis question will be a little bit different. You might ask, how is this article using emotion to persuade its audience to, get angry or want to protest, or whatever it might be. Or, but you want to answer that thesis question. Your thesis itself should not be a question, but you should form a question and then answer it. So ask yourself, how does this article use emotion or credible sources to persuade that specific audience to do something? The answer to that question would be your working thesis. And that's a lot of the purpose of that extra help there, that assignment sheet that you can look at. But you should have a thesis that the most important part of that thesis is that one, it has to be based in critical thinking. So you want to have a lot of analysis there. But 2, it has to be based on rhetoric. So you really want to be analyzing not only the article, but how the article is persuading an audience. The number one problem my previous students have had with this paper is that they tend to talk about the content of the article. So, for example, previous students, like last semester, one student had an article about gun control. And instead of analyzing how the article about gun control persuaded an audience to think, feel, or do something about that topic, they wanted to write a paper about the topic of gun control. You want to be very careful that you don't do that, because that's very common. I don't know why it is. I think it's just this kind of, a lot of people have written the argumentative research paper about the content. Not a lot of people have written a rhetorical analysis paper, so it's not quite habitual yet. It's not quite ingrained in us to think that way. And I think that's why it's even more important to kind of think about how what we're reading persuades us, because there's so much news out there. There's so much going on, and a lot of times we just flip through that information. instead of really analyzing how it's pursuing that. So it's really, really, really important to think about. Are they credible sources? You know, maybe something we think a source is credible, but it's actually not. So we really got to think about that. So really make sure that you're analyzing the article and how it's persuading an audience, and not defaulting and looking at the content. Okay, right about the content. You use your the extra help assignment sheet as a stepping stone as long as the topic proposal. Requirements must be rhetorical analysis of the article, not write about the content, should have an informative title. This essay a lot of times is written as a 5-paragraph essay, so when you read the next videos, I think I say that a lot of times I get essays that are just talk about like ethos, pathos, logos. You don't want to do that. This paper will be a lot harder to break out of that 5-paragraph essay. It's a lot harder to build upon paragraphs. And so I have an example essay you want to look at and do a complex book entry for that. And of course, if you want me to read your essay rough draft, please email that to me up to a week before the essay is due. So that'd be like a week from that Thursday, before that Thursday, April 1st. It should have very specific language, no unnecessary language. Ideally, use my comments from your essay number 1 and your complex book entries to help you guide what you might be needing. You should also have at least 2 outside credible sources. That's really important here too. They can be other news articles. They can be information from Jeffco's library. I'll have other videos that kind of help show how to find that information. But you should cite them in MLA format as works cited citations and in-text citations. So at very minimum, you should have 3 sources. The 1 news article that you're analyzing, and the 2 outside sources that should be used to support your thesis. And there can be a variety of ways that you do that. And also, you could add personal experience to your essay, but it must be relevant. So one way that other students have done it in the past, if they're analyzing the article's audience and yet they are part of that audience too, that can really work. Another one essay I'm remembering, the author of the paper, not the article, but the author of the paper was analyzing an article that was gearing towards parents. And she herself was a parent, and so she kind of talks about how herself as a part of that audience viewed that in addition to other audience members. But don't just talk about your personal experience. Don't talk about your personal feelings towards the content. Make sure it's relevant to your analysis. So this is essay number 2. Please let me know if you have any questions. Oftentimes, the rhetorical analysis paper is the hardest of the semester, so please make sure you're working hard at this paper, and I'm there to help you every step of the way. Just let me know. So make sure you're looking at those other videos as well. Have a great day.